Hi, I'm Peter Larkum, and this is Mentality Meets. So we've been doing this every single week since the beginning of lockdown, twice a week before World Mental Health Awareness Week. That's a lot of weeks in a sentence. But since then, we've been doing it for every Thursday. And today I'm going to be met by a young lady called Zara Sheldrake, who has raised a question with me around the seasons. How do the seasons impact on our mental health? Now, we've heard a lot about the winter blues, but we don't really know much about what impact the summer has. And I'm certainly talking to some people, they say that the summer is a good time. It's a time where they feel more up and more engaged with their mental health. But is that for everyone? That's what we're going to be discussing today in Mentality Meets. I hope you enjoy it. So Zara, can you just say a very quick hello so people can know who it is that we're going to be talking to today?
Hi everyone, I'm Zara. Nice to hopefully see some of you.
Brilliant. So welcome. So if you are just joining us, your video is off and your microphone is on mute. Keep yourselves muted, but let us see your lovely faces because it is always nice. Okay, let's just do a very quick health warning as we always do with Mentality Meets. Why? Because we're going to be talking about mental health, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the reality of it. And with this, we don't know what your personal history is. So we don't know whether you have experienced mental health illnesses in the past or whether you are experiencing mental health illnesses at the moment, okay? We don't know whether you have had suicidal thoughts, whether you've attempted suicide, or whether you've been the first person on the scene to somebody who has attempted or completed suicide. We don't have this information, which is probably a good thing because it means that we can talk honestly and openly about all these things. Now, we're not going to be touching on everything, but we need you to be aware of your own personal vulnerability as we go through this talk, okay? If you feel like you need to access some help or support, can I please encourage you to contact the Samaritans on 116 123. There's also a text service out there called Shout, which you can text Shout to 85258. And what that will do is it will send a message out to someone and then they will be able to message you back and get in contact with you. If you're on the call and you want to contact me directly, you can use your chat bar, and I'll introduce you to your chat bar in a minute. But you can send a message out to everybody, or you can send a private message just to me. So if you are finding that some of this stuff is a little bit more vulnerable than you're expecting, you can message me directly during the midst of this talk, okay? Now, something else that we're talking about on Mentality Meets is the hubofhope.co.uk. It's a fantastic website. So if you put your postcode into the hubofhope.co.uk, it will tell you all the mental health provision in your local area. This is brilliant if you're supporting someone on the other side of the country because you can put their postcode in and find the mental health support in their local area. Now, there is lots of other help and support out there. And if you need any of that, again, stick it down on the chat and let us know. Okay. So that's my health warning done and dusted for this session. What I want to know about my audience today is on your chat bar, can you just give us a quick hi? Let us know. What do I want to know about you? I want to know about your routines. I want to find out about your sleeping routines, actually. This is a weirdness. I've got a Fitbit for Father's Day, which is telling me how badly I'm sleeping. I had no idea until I got a Fitbit that I was only sleeping like 6 hours a night. I thought I was doing really well. The fact is I go to bed at 10 o'clock and then stay on my phone till about 11:30. And I want to find out what you guys do. So what is your bedtime routine? Do you have a routine, or do you just find that you get into bed and you collapse at whatever time it is and then you wake up at whatever time it is? I also have 3 small people, which means that sometimes my wife gets fully disturbed in the night. I'd like to say I did the nighttime stuff. I'm not very good at that. I seem to sleep like a log when I am asleep. And my wife is the one who gets disturbed. So what's your name? Where in the country are you? And what is your current sleeping routine? Do you have one? And do you know what to do to help you get to sleep? I don't know where this is going, Zara, just to let you know. So Zara, do you have a sleep routine?
I do, and like you, I have a Fitbit, and I found out through having a Fitbit that I wake up a lot in the night, and I hadn't realised. So I think I've been asleep for 8 hours, but I've actually spent about an hour awake. So a big part of my routine is to make sure I don't have any technology at my pillow. I have to have my phone there because it's my alarm, but I try not to touch it after I've gone to bed because Otherwise, I get very distracted by all of the things, all the shiny stuff you can go look at on the internet. America's just starting to wake up and fun stuff is happening over there. So I have to be very disciplined about putting my phone away on its stand and not touching it and letting myself drift off to sleep. But yeah, the tricky thing for me is if I wake up in the night, particularly if I've just finished like a full sleep cycle, I wake up and then all the thoughts just start coming in about what am I going to be doing the next day? How am I feeling? What's going on with me today? And then sometimes I can't get back to sleep. So guys on the chat, do any of you have this experience? Do you know good ways of getting back to sleep if you wake up in the middle of the night?
Brilliant question. All right then, so let's add that one in. So what's your name and where in the country are you? And for those who have just joined, we've been asking about sleep routines. I don't know why. It's because I got a Fitbit and I realised I don't sleep as well as I thought I did. So Claire says, I stopped measuring my sleep because I found it stressed me out even more. I think I'm there, Claire, you know. So hey, Claire, dialing in from Hertz. Hi, how you doing? Always fall asleep, no problem. During periods of stress, I wake up regularly. Totally. Rob in West Sussex, starting to get ready for bed about 10. Probably don't actually get to sleep till about 11. Always up by 6:30. Ah, okay. So you're an early riser. I like it. Now, I'm an early riser because I have small people, not because it's my desired reality. Maddie says, on maternity leave with a 6-week-old twins, so not much sleep at all. Oh, Maddie, I hear you on that. Haven't got twins, but certainly small people. Joe in Hampshire, hi, never sleep well, but try to get in bed around 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish. And Melissa in Marlow, the past few nights, woken up around 4 o'clock in the morning. This is not a good place to be, is it? Just getting up and making that it goes better for the following nights. And Melissa also has twins, so totally understands the situation that you are in. So yeah, sleep is an interesting one because it is really important for our mental health. And if there is anything that we can do to make our sleep better, then let's try and figure it out, shall we? But anyway, enough about me and my sleeping routines. Zara, welcome to Mentality Meets. Can you just give us a little bit of a background and a little bit of kind of your journey and what it is that has brought you to this place where I am talking to you on Mentality Meets? That'd be great.
Oh, thanks, Peter. Yeah, so it's absolutely lovely to be here and looking forward to hearing from all of you guys as well. So me, I am in my 30s in Cambridge, where I've lived for the last 15 years or so since university here. And university in Cambridge was a really difficult time for me because that was when I got diagnosed with depression, which I'd actually been suffering throughout my teens without knowing about it. So I've been on a journey for the last 10, 15 years to sort of learn how to embrace my depression, learn how to accept it as a part of myself and understand how to deal with the things that trigger me, the low moods that I might experience, and also to sort of acknowledge the difference between being sad and like you should be sad because a sad thing has happened, and being sad because my depression is rearing up and showing its ugly head. So I've started looking at workplace wellness in particular because most of us in the workplace quite a lot of the time, and I think that to be able to be healthy and well with my depression, I need to be honest with my employer. So I started doing a bunch of presentations at work and got involved in a mental health working group. And from there, it's just sort of spread out into all of this amazing work that you can do with people around mental health and helping people to talk about their own experiences and maybe learn some coping mechanisms.
Fantastic. And so in our pre-talk, we were talking about the seasons. And we're talking about the sun shining and everything being absolutely wonderful. Why? Because it's the summer. And this was something that you raised with me as a kind of even text message, I think it was, about kind of, can we talk about the seasons? Why is this such a big thing for you?
Yeah, so I'm very aware at the moment that there's beautiful sunshine, but we're pretty much trapped inside. There's very little that we can go and do in that sunshine at the moment. And it got me thinking about the seasonality of mental health and do the seasons affect our mental health the way we think they do? So you're probably mostly all familiar with the idea of the winter blues and having those sort of periods of just feeling a little bit less awake, alert during the winter, maybe feeling a little lower in mood because we have less daylight, and we know that daylight as much as sleep is really important for our mental health. But I was just thinking about as things turn to summer, you start to get bombarded with these adverts for what your summer should look like. And in particular, for me, that sets off what my summer should feel like. So if you see a bunch of advertisements for going on holiday and maybe you can't afford to because your finances aren't in the right place for that, or you see a whole bunch of adverts about, are you beach body ready? I don't know about you guys, but I didn't feel comfortable joining this call in the swimmers. Would anyone on the chat be bold enough to put their video on and show us that they're actually not wearing any pants? But I think as you head towards the summer, there's all this expectation that you should be enjoying yourself, out and about, spending loads of energy, and really happy. We've got a note there from Claire, definitely not ready to join in her bikini. So yeah, I was thinking about, how do we cope with that? How do we cope with the idea that there may be just as much pressure on the summer for us with our mental health as there is in the winter? And what kind of tips can we give each other for staying happy through the summer? So on the chat, come through with what do you guys do? Do you notice changes in your mood, and do you adapt the things that you do so that you can continue to stay happy and healthy through the summer? And yeah, Peter, do you do things? Do you change your routine as we approach the summer?
Do I change? I've never really gone for that beach ready body kind of thing, and it's something which I've actually had to tackle more in this lockdown process than I think ever before, because I'm definitely the kind of person that doesn't usually look at myself. So I will get ready, and literally once I've got ready, I then won't look at myself all day / night / until the following morning when I'm getting myself ready again. So kind of body consciousness has never really been a thing for me until I've been sitting in these Zoom calls and seeing myself the entire time, you know, because when you talk to the mirror, it's just weird because you kind of see all your expressions and everything else like that. And so, yeah, I've definitely been impacted by that as a thought going on. And I don't think I've really acknowledged that seasonal process until you mentioned it, because you said the winter blues, and the awareness that we bring around that kind of Christmas, New Year time, and the hype of Christmas and the hype of New Year, and then we're back into work and kind of the slump that happens about 2 or 3 weeks into January and the beginning of February. But yeah, never really seen it on the other angle. So anyone else, where are you at with your kind of seasonal processing? So Rob's saying, in general, feel better in the spring, summer than other times of the year. Sunshine definitely is a pick-me-up, certainly. Melissa's saying, really interesting point. Love being outside more, any opportunity in the term, and in turn, just generally being more active, walking, cycling, which the weather does help with, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Actually being out, because I don't know about you, but yes, puddle walks are fun, but when it's just miserable, that's not really fun. Being more active, so walking, cycling, love the warmth of the sun, not so much with the humid nights. Yeah, humid nights and sleep. Coming back to sleep again. Sorry, people. But yeah, Claire's saying blue skies, yes. Video calls, no, at any time of the year. And I think it's also about knowing what we're comfortable with, knowing kind of how we can be comfortable in ourselves as we go through. So another thing which I wanted to pick up on, and this is just a little bit of a kind of nitpickety, really. So from a mental health training perspective, talking about mental health illnesses and recovery from mental health illnesses, and you made a really interesting point just then about when sadness is allowed because something sad has happened versus sadness creeping in because of your depression. And there's also kind of a little phrase about that you said, which is kind of my depression. And isn't it a case of when we are in a healthy mental health place, do we still have depression, or has our depression kind of subsided? And you very much kind of said it's my depression,
it's
my
mine,
thing,
it's
mine. So can you just talk me through that and why that's a thing for you?
I mean, first of all, I want to say this is my personal view, and I don't take away from anybody else how they feel about this, particularly if they feel differently about this. But for me, yeah, it is my depression. It's almost like this little pet I have, this thing that lives with me. And I do believe that it's completely possible to live a happy, fulfilled, normal, whilst I hate that term, life with my depression. And I don't consider my depression to be something that I'll ever not have. So I'm in this place now where, having spent time understanding my triggers, understanding what works for me and what doesn't, I know that whatever it is that causes my depression, whether that's different brain chemistry, something I've inherited, whatever this is, I know that it's always going to be there, and it might always impact on situations, but it's not always going to be the thing that impacts on a situation for me. And so I think of it like this companion that I have that will always be there, and it will sometimes be really annoying. It will sometimes make my day really hard, sometimes make a week really hard. But by knowing that this is something that I have, I then have a language that I can use to talk about it. So you'll probably laugh about this, but I talk to my partner about how many of Snow White's dwarfs I am today. And that's as part of my depression. So we've developed this language where I can say, today I'm 3 of the dwarfs. You know, I'm grumpy, I'm dopey, and I'm sad. and those are my dwarfs today. And we talk about it that way. And I think if I got to a good place where I felt like I was over my depression, and then I stopped thinking about it in those terms, then I would find it really difficult to adapt again if it ever did happen again, if I ever did become low again. That's made me wonder if any of you guys, if you experience mental health issues yourself, do you have a way of talking about that with the people close to you? Do you have any like cute little language that you use to help yourselves talk about it?
That's a great thing. I've never even, this is what I love about the Mentality Meets, is that I never think about these things until people kind of bring it up. And when you kind of say kind of that I'm grumpy, dopey, and sad, I can live with most of those and not think I'm struggling with mental health illnesses. And so trying to figure it out. But yeah, language is such a fascinating and useful thing when exploring and expressing our mental health and our mental health journey. So yeah, anyone out there? Melissa says, love that analogy to express how you're feeling. And no, but Melissa's also going to take yours. I love it. Stealing other people's language. Rob says, not really, but it sounds like a really good idea. So thinking of ways that we can actually personalize our feelings so as other people can understand where we're coming from. Claire says, no, but I think it's a great way to think about it. Usually sleepy and grumpy from Claire. And Rob says, I just try to be honest about how I feel. And I think that's a real gift, is being able to have that honesty, isn't it? And I suppose kind of the question that I have to kind of lead us into our next kind of part of this is, what was it, or how did you get the confidence? Is confidence a thing that you just have? Because you've moved from a place where mental health was impacting on your life, and you're saying kind of through your teens into your university, to now where you are talking about it and actively kind of being positive about the reality of it. How does that shift occur?
Yeah. So I think a big part of it was understanding that a lot of the pain I felt around my depression was because I was bottling it up, and because I was putting on this front and trying to pretend to the world that I was fine. So I was putting extra mental load on myself by creating this exterior that I thought people wanted to see. So when I sort of accepted that I needed to stop doing that, that made things a little bit easier for me. And when you feel better, you feel more confident to be able to pull down the facade and talk. But also, there was one really tragic event that kind of was a turning point for me. I lost a friend to suicide, and nobody around us expected it. Nobody really knew how to cope with it. We all fell apart together, and I realized that if I had those thoughts and feelings, if I took my life, nobody would have expected it, because I was doing such a great job of covering up what was going on inside me. So for me, it was knowing that I owed it to my friends and family to be honest with them about what was going on with me, so that I could recover, but also so that they would never have that shock moment of suddenly realizing that I'd been living with so much pain. And just the act of being honest about it took some of the burden away. And learning how to talk to my family and friends about what I was experiencing took some of the burden away. And then when I started to talk to other people, strangers, about it, that lifted me so much more, because then I could use what I'd experienced to help them. And I think it's such an important thing. If you are feeling that way, it can be very isolating. So to hear other people say, I felt this too, here's what I did, here's how I coped with that, that can be really empowering. So I think it's important that we do talk about it.
Yeah, and just some acknowledgement on the chat, just kind of saying thank you for sharing, because it's a tough thing to be talking about, and it is a reality for so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people, and the way that people kind of deal with grief, and the way that people deal, especially when suicide has been the contributing factor, and the most common statement through the trainings, when somebody I know who I'm training knows someone, the most common statement is, we never saw it coming.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really valuable about what you just said, which is, by sharing and letting people know, then if I didn't, then yeah, it would be a shock, you know. But also, by sharing and letting people know, it enables them to come around and get you the help and support. And I'm a firm believer that help and support is out there, and that people do care, and that most of us, actually, we don't know how to open up the conversations. And so from a kind of audience part of things, how do we start that conversation? How do we, if we are kind of working with, living with, kind of having Zoom calls with someone that we begin to worry about, just that little bit, something they say or something they do or something that is just a little bit outside of their normal level of weird, you know, how do we raise that as a conversation? How does that start?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So something I learned a while back is that a lot of the questions and answers that we ask each other to sort of check in are standards and have a standard expected response. Hey, how are you? I'm okay, thanks. And it's almost like you can't say anything different, because you don't want to put that burden on someone of an answer they weren't expecting. So I've sort of tried to change the question. So instead of saying, how are you, say, what's happening with you today? You know, what's been going on? And I think the other thing is, if you do notice changes in people's behavior, particularly if you know them well and you think that there may be something going on with them that they haven't confided in you, then it's really important just to acknowledge that. Because the worst thing you could be is wrong. And then they'll laugh it off and be like, what? No, God, no, I'm fine. Right. So if you think that someone's behavior suggests that they're maybe not okay, then just acknowledge it with them. Just say, you know, I've noticed that recently you haven't been coming out as much, not just because of the pandemic. You know, I've noticed that when we have a Zoom call, you're keeping your video off these days. Is there a reason for that? And just ask a really open question and give them the opportunity to speak. And then from that point, it's just about listening. Because often, once someone has got over that first hurdle of telling their truth, telling you what's happening with them, then all they need from you is to know that you're listening and that you care.
Amazing. All right then, audience, give me some conversation starters. How would you start the conversation with somebody? And because what Zara has just said is that there's no wrong answer. You just need to have the confidence to try and say something. And so just kind of going back on the chats again, just kind of lots of kind of thanks for what you were sharing. And confidence has come from age, meeting Zara. Lucky to work with her until recently. Sorry, I've lost the space. Didn't recognize what I was experiencing, not depression in my case, but high functioning anxiety. So just the acknowledgement going on when people share about their mental health allows other people to recognize and see their own, you know, and I think that's just awesome. Hard to share initially, but amazing how many people suffer in silence. And loving the freedom that it's given me, and then consequently for others. One of the previous guests asking someone how they are, but asking a few times with sensitivity, not just that one time. I don't know whether that's a situation I had, Melissa, with Johnny Benjamin, because I think it was when I was talking with Johnny Benjamin, and he asked me 3 times, you know, 3 times, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you? And I was like, dude, you're just not listening. I've answered this question already, you know? But on the 3rd time of him asking, it was the time that I almost kind of took a little moment and thought, he actually wants to know the answer. And up until now, he's known that I've fobbed it off a little bit, you know, and just think that's brilliant. And Rob's just saying, I guess it depends on the relationships that you have with people. But if your questioning comes from a place of love and care, the words you say don't really matter. And I think that's so powerful. Is it actually coming from a place of care? I'm only asking because I care, you know? And so we've kind of gone all over the place, and we're now at kind of 26 minutes past 3. We've got 4 minutes left, Zara. So with these last few minutes, what do you want us as an audience to take away from your experience of mental health illnesses, your confidence in sharing and talking about it, the seasonal processing? What for you is that burning thing that you want us to hold on to from this talk?
So I think we hear a lot in the media about mental health and what it should be and what it should feel like. And I think the thing that I want everyone to know is that whatever you are experiencing is okay. No one can tell you that you shouldn't be sad because it's summer and it's beautiful outside. And nobody can tell you that by sharing your story and sharing your truth that you're doing something wrong. So whatever is happening with you, I want you to have the confidence to be able to maybe seek a trusted friend, someone that you can confide in, or blog or write, whatever it is you need to do. I want you to be able to do that and just be honest about what you're experiencing. And I think when you start to do that, you will find so many other people will support you in that, either by helping you through what you're experiencing or by admitting that they're also experiencing something similar or have experienced something similar, and then maybe you can help each other. So I just want to get the world talking, and I really, really, really want to get rid of the beach body ready messages, because we have a body, we're ready for the beach.
Totally. I like that idea. All right then, people, one last kind of question to go out there. Do you know someone you can talk to? Just a really quick yes and no answer. Because if the answer is no, I want to be someone that you can talk to. Okay. Because if you know someone that you can talk to when you're struggling with your mental health, talk to them. But also let them know that you can be talked to too. That was too many twos in a sentence. I don't know. But yeah, just that kind of thought. So I think this is quite a natural conclusion, isn't it? It's quite a nice little ending. So I think this is probably a healthy place for us to say, guys, thank you so much for joining us for Mentality Meets. I have been Peter Larkum. This has been Zara Sheldrake. She has been absolutely wonderful in all that she's talked about. So thank you, guys. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.